Hi, Eileen. Hi, Jean. Hiya, it's lovely to see you. We're just gonna give a few minutes to allow some other people to arrive and to admit them before we get going. We put some instructions onto the screen to kind of help with any techie issues this evening as well. Hi, Peter. This is one of these strange situations, isn't it, where everybody's on mute and we can't say hello to each other, apart from me. Right then, so I think we'll just get going, and we'll hope that some more people join us. And actually our theme for this evening is about gathering, and I'm reminded of is it a oh gosh, is it a hymn? Oh, do you know, the words have gone about being kind of part of the body of Christ. Though we may not be many, we are still one body. I mean, I've just made that up. But anyway, off we go. Croeso mawr, a really warm welcome to you this evening. So I'm Mary McNeil. I've met, I think, a few of you on the call. There are a couple of unfamiliar faces and names, but it's lovely to meet you. I'm the head of Christian Aid in Wales. And on behalf of the Christian Aid Wales team, who are online tonight and dotted around Wales, and who have put together the programme for this evening, I want to thank you for gathering tonight. Our gathering is due to last until about 9. Shortly before 9, we're hoping, and we haven't planned for a break. But of course, do feel free to get up, move around. We hope you'll stick with us so we can have a conversation towards the end. Just looking at faces who've joined us, and at the chat box, we've got people joining from all around, dotted around Wales, actually, haven't we? Christian Aid volunteers, organisers, church reps, doing such fantastic and inspiring work in your communities. To engage people in the work of Christian Aid. So this supporter gathering is a part of Christian Aid's week-long Changemakers supporter conference. It's our second ever supporter conference. So I think we're still working at getting things right with it. But I do hope that you'll have had a chance to join some of the sessions earlier in the week, and that you might have a chance to sign up to 1 or 2 sessions later on too. Right, there we go. Just checking I can move the screen on. Here we go. So teething problems already, right? So this evening, we're going to take a special look at Christian Aid Week 2022 and visit our brothers and sisters who are on the front line of the climate emergency in Zimbabwe. We're going to hear from some of our amazing Christian Aid supporters in Wales who have been involved in and or are planning towards some special fundraising this year. We're going to share with you what we hope will be some key resources and tools in preparing for Christian Aid Week and other fundraising activities. You'll hear about opportunities to engage with children and young people. And then if there's time at the end, we'll open up for some conversation and a few questions. So we've prepared 2 videos to show you this evening. We've prepared these in advance, mainly in case we encountered any techie issues. But hopefully it will just feel like these videos are part of the meeting and their conversations. And actually those who are taking part in the videos, some of them are here with us this evening and will be able to answer any questions that you might have. So let us reflect together on the purpose of our meeting this evening. And we're going to reflect on some words in Acts chapter 2, verses 42 to 45. They devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching and to fellowship, to the breaking of bread and to prayer. Everyone was filled with awe at the many wonders and signs performed by the apostles. All the believers were together and had everything in common. They sold property and possessions to give to anyone who had need. Being gathered together is important, isn't it? And it has a far-reaching impact. As we gather together from different parts of Wales, we remember that though we are scattered, we are, of course, one body, and the accumulation of our actions, ideas, the support we're able to bring, our contributions, the accumulation of these mean tremendous impact and blessing for many lives throughout the world. And actually, our combined actions mean that in some way, we are gathered with, or we stand together with those who are in situations of poverty and injustice. So because of your support and the support of many within your communities, Christian Aid is able to continue working through hundreds of local partner organisations to lift lives out of the injustice of poverty. In the picture in front of you, as Haiti was hit by a deadly earthquake back during the summer and was battered by tropical storms, flash floods, mudslides, claiming thousands of lives, injuring and displacing hundreds of thousands more. We, all of us gathered here tonight, we were there, bringing food, water, shelter, medical treatment, giving people the strength to survive, while also being there to help rebuild. As people in places like South Sudan face a hunger crisis exacerbated by COVID, violent conflict, the climate crisis and locust swarms, we, those of us gathered here today, we are there. Through our global hunger appeal, we've been with the most affected communities, providing food and cash assistance, clean drinking water, PPE, fishing equipment, seeds and tools for households to adapt and rebuild lives. As Afghanistan is on the brink of famine today as we meet and faces harsh winter conditions, we, those of us gathered here tonight, we are there standing with those facing the unthinkable, providing emergency food and nutrition, support for children, supporting healthcare facilities, providing winter kits to help displaced families to stay warm and supplying clean drinking water. As communities face the harsh reality of the climate crisis in places like Kenya, we are there, building resilience, empowering communities with training to adapt to changing weather, to build livelihoods, and to see families thriving. So the work that you're involved in gathering together to raise money in your communities, to pray, to take action, is tremendously far-reaching. And we praise God, don't we, for this, for the privilege we have to gather together, to stand together for dignity, equality, and justice. Shall we pray as we open our meeting together? Reflecting on the words we've heard in Acts chapter 2, our Heavenly Father God, we give you thanks for gathering us together on this night and indeed throughout this week. And we thank you for gathering us together by Christian Aid's work with our brothers and sisters who are experiencing the injustice of poverty. Just as the early church in Acts calls us, Lord, to be people who are devoted to your teaching, to fellowship and prayer, fill us, O Lord, with the many wonders of your work in the world, and cause us truly to be together, to have everything in common, to give our talents, our time, our resources, to give to anyone who has need. And we ask these things in Jesus' name with a prayer for your blessing on our meeting this evening. Amen. Over to you, David.
Thank you, Mary. Can you all hear me? Let me just check the microphone to begin with. Everybody hear me? That's excellent. Thank you. Can I ask you to go to the first slide, please, Helen? We no longer talk about climate change in Christian Aid. Rather, we talk about the climate crisis, because it is a crisis by now in all parts of our world, with weather patterns changing drastically. It's making life so difficult for so many communities, both rich and poor, all around the world. And yet we know, don't we, that it is the poorest people and the poorest communities who suffer and who struggle the most. And their struggle, far too often, is a struggle for survival itself. And this is particularly true for those living in Zimbabwe today, the focus country of Christian Aid Week this year, as Mary has mentioned. The effect of the climate crisis in Zimbabwe is that growing food is so much more difficult than it used to be. Indeed, it is proving for many to be nigh on impossible. 7 out of 10 women depend on agriculture to earn a living and to care for their families in Zimbabwe. That's 7 out of 10 women in a country where growing food has become nigh on impossible. You can see, can't you, how crisis is the only word which we can use. Can I have the next slide, please, Helen? This is Jessica. She works hard on her farm to provide for her family. But no matter how hard she works, the climate crisis means that she can never work hard enough. Can we move one slide forward again, please? She says, one year we had no rain. The scorching sun burnt my crops just as they were about to bloom. It was so painful and disheartening. Drought has robbed her of her ability to provide for her family. They often have to manage on one bowl of porridge a day. We often go to bed on an empty stomach, she says. It pains me to send them to bed hungry. Jessica is hungry. She is hungry for food, but she is hungry also for the ability to provide for her family. Can we go back one slide now, Helen, please? Rather than, yeah, that's the one I want. Thank you. The solution to the climate crisis is to work for climate justice. And one crucial aspect of working for climate justice is to set up a financial fund which will help poorer countries tackle the losses and the damages that the crisis has created. And as a rich country, which has done far more to create this crisis than poorer countries, it is vital that we, during Christian Aid Week, call on our government to contribute to this fund. But we must also work on the ground, which is exactly what Christian Aid's partners are doing in Zimbabwe. Through partners like the Community Technology Development Organization, Christian Aid is helping farmers to adapt to the new climate conditions. Things like drought-resistant seeds are used, which give a much better yield during times of little rain. If you can go forward and one more, thank you. This is Janet. Janet is 70 years old and is a grandmother. She too has known times of hunger. But through the work of Christian Aid's partners, she has turned her dry, dusty land into a garden of plenty. Of course, she still has to work hard. But unlike Jessica, her hard work pays because of the drought-resistant seeds she uses, and because too of the storeroom she has managed to build in which she stores food during times of plenty. The storeroom means that she can survive the droughts, which will inevitably come again. My life is changing, she says. This project is uplifting us. We are thankful. It makes me happy to see my family as strong and well-fed. God gives me the power to plough my field and to help my family. The climate crisis hasn't gone away. The climate crisis isn't going away. But with your help during this Christian Aid Week, we can give women like Janet and Jessica the tools to survive and to thrive in their harsh climate. Thank you, and over to Nathan.
Oh, thank you, David, and I'm sure we're all very excited now, having heard that story, and what a difference every act makes. And we're going to look in particular now on individual fundraising acts, and we're going to look at one that happened last year with Phil pictured there on the slides, flying the banner for Pontypridd. And we're going to have a conversation between Phil, myself, and Peter Baines. And Phil, remarkably, he doesn't say this in the video, but he raised £6,000 for his 40th birthday last Christian Aid Week. And I hope to be joining Peter flying the banner for Abergavenny. And we're going to do a similar challenge this year. So I hope you enjoy this video now. Thank you.
Well, hello everybody, and welcome to two very special guests, both Reverend Doctors. That's right, isn't it?
It is, yes.
Yes.
Well, I don't know about Phil, but it is.
Reverend Dr. Peter Baines from Abergavenny and Reverend Dr. Phil Wall from Pontypridd. Croeso cynnes to the both of you. And we're going to,
Yeah, thank you very much.
lovely seeing you again. We're going to be talking a little bit about individual challenges, and you've both doing something very similar 1 year apart. Phil, can you tell us a little bit about the big day you had last year?
Yeah, I can. So with my two churches, we always like to put on a Christian Aid event every year. And of course, in the past couple of years, it's been a little bit difficult doing a big event together. So we've had to be a bit inventive. So in 2020, we did a cookbook, which went well. And then in 2021, it happened to coincide with a birthday with a 0 in for me. Not my 30th. No, I know, even despite the moisturizer, it was my 40th birthday. And so I wanted also to do some kind of physical challenge. And I as Nathan will know, the last time I was with Nathan, we were out on a walk, and I love walking. I love the beauty we have on our doorstep. And I'd climbed the 3 peaks before on different days. So I thought, why not climb the Welsh 3 peaks in a day? Real challenge, but something that hopefully would raise a bit of money for Christian Aid too. So that's what I did.
Oh, brilliant. And Peter, had you heard about Phil's challenge before?
In honestly, no, I hadn't. I'm almost certain I must have glimpsed at it on the various Christian Aid publicity that we did for last year, but it didn't actually seek deep into the memory hole. It seemed to disappear somewhere along there, I fear. Sorry about that, Phil. I hope you had a good day. I'm wounded, but I'll get over it.
So Phil and Peter, you're doing a challenge roughly 1 year apart, and yeah. I'm hoping to join you, Peter, on the slopes. I'm looking forward to that. So obviously you're both keen supporters of Christian Aid as well. Phil, were there any challenges on the day, any hiccups?
There were a couple. Firstly, the weather. It did pour all day. Even though we had some lovely weather that spring, it did pour all day. So even the journeys between the peaks that you don't really think about, just when you're in the car, when the muscles are relaxing, we did feel like we were turning moldy. But then you just have to roll with it. We can't control the weather. So layers and a good change of clothes are always good. And then we did have some issues with timing, because I was the only one of my team doing all 3 peaks, but we had other members joining me for one of the peaks, or maybe 2 of them, including some who had never climbed Pen y Fan or Cadair Idris or Snowdon before. So it was lovely for them to be a part of it, but then timing got a little bit away from us. So as we were ending on the last slope, which for us was on Pen y Fan, we were having a good look at the clock, and I was grateful that we had torches with us, but all was well in the end. And always make sure you have accessible snacks.
So snacks.
Lots of snacks.
Lots, and the right kind of snacks, easily available, easily edible.
They're very good tips. Peter, are you nervous? Is there one hill in particular you're?
Wouldn't say I'm nervous. I've always enjoyed walking on the hills, and started my hill walking up on Cadair Idris, in fact, when I was 18 with my uncle's brother, who used to run Duke of Edinburgh out of one of the teacher training colleges in Yorkshire. So I've always loved walking, but it is Cadair, if you're asking which is going to be the trickiest hill. I think that probably is the trickiest hill. I know Snowdon fairly well. I know Pen y Fan because it's our local big hill around here, so I know Pen y Fan very well. I would say Cadair's probably the trickiest of the 3, probably going to be the most challenging. I did want to go to Plymlimon because I've never been up there, but it is a bit of a boring walk, and Nathan said, nah, we'll go for Cadair anyway.
Yeah, I've got very wet on Plymlimon in the past, so I think your 3 peaks are a good choice. So thank you, Phil, for being our forerunner, as it were.
I say it's my pleasure, and I just hope you will enjoy it, and I hope it will be your pleasure.
I hope we don't have the weather issues. I did many years ago with another group of ministers here from Gwent, try and do the national, the UK 3 peaks, Ben Nevis, Scafell and Snowdon. It was the year it rained. We couldn't get up Scafell because it got flooded.
Oh no.
Oh.
And that is a disappointment, isn't it? When you've put the planning in, and yeah. Well, let's hope for dry weather.
Pray for us, everyone.
Yes. I'm relying on Nathan and his dad to do the driving.
Yes. So Phil, you know, even though you had a small sort of support team, like a Sherpa team,
I did.
It was very much an individual challenge, wasn't it? And today, what do you think are the benefits of doing this kind of individual fundraising challenge?
Yeah, so I did, as you say, I did have a team with me who came with me and drove me and fed me and sang with me, and not to mention the donations that came in. But it is true that I was the only one that did all 3 peaks. I was thinking about it. I think there's probably 2 benefits to doing an individual challenge. The first is you can do something that's unique to your gifts or passions. So, you know, for me, I really wanted, I love the great outdoors, as I say, and I wanted to take on a physical challenge. So that was ideal for me. But I think every one of us has something that we can do to raise money for Christian Aid, whether it's a challenge we always wanted to take on, or an event we want to host, or a special skill we can use. I think you can hone it to your interests. And the other thing I'd say is that certainly my 2 churches are getting a little bit older. And whereas in the past we put on some really big events for Christian Aid, that may be getting trickier to organize, especially as it was during various lockdowns. So doing this kind of thing, with having the church, some of them with me literally in the car, and others of them supporting me, following my progress, donating, it's something that the whole community can be a part of, but only 1 or 2, you know, actually doing the challenge itself. So I think it lends that it can be easily replicated.
Oh, that's great. And you know, Peter, last year we walked on the canal, didn't we, as a group?
We did, yes, and I was very pleased to hear that you enjoy walking, which is part of the reason we ended up here.
You know, Phil's already brought this up, really. So even though the group may not be able to do the 3 peaks with us, do you think there's anything else on top of what Phil said that they can help you? What can a group do to help, even though they're not taking part?
Certainly, as Phil says, the background support and encouragement is very important. It's good to know that in some way you are representing the local church, or in my case, the local group around Abergavenny and 3 peaks here around Abergavenny. And knowing there is that community buy-in is important in terms of the support. Because as Phil says, we have struggled over the years to continue the normal group type activities. We went back to a sponsored walk last year on the canal because of COVID, not able to do any of the church-based stuff because it kept us outdoors. But there is that difficulty of organising the groups to get it done. We still do door-to-door in Gavilan, which is still our main fundraiser, but getting the people to be able to collect is few and far between now. So it is, as you say, Phil, it is that difficulty with age and time for churches that are beginning to struggle a bit.
You'd be flying the flag for the Abergavenny groups on the peaks.
I certainly will be flying the flag for the Abergavenny group on the peaks, yes.
And well, Phil, we've talked about the challenge, we've talked about the individual elements. What about the practicalities, you know, behind fundraising it? How did you gather the funds, and was it tricky promoting your challenge?
In some ways, there's a little bit of awkwardness in the kind of the publicity, because I find sometimes asking for money a lot, you know, there is some social awkwardness with that. So it helped that I was asking for it was a birthday, so birthday presents and donations could come together, and the fact that it was for Christian Aid, because both my churches are huge supporters and have a long relationship with Christian Aid. But yeah, with friends and family, we all have other causes, you know, that we're close to our hearts. But I did find doing things online really quite easy to do, to set up a page where people can donate online, and you don't have to handle the money, that kind of thing.
Was this Just Giving, or?
It was Just Giving, yeah. But I know there's a couple of others as well, but we did Just Giving, and even for a Luddite like me, it was so easy to do, and so yeah, it was great when the money came in and the support was raised.
And Peter, are you a Luddite? Or
in many ways, I am a Luddite, but I'm a Luddite who quite likes modern stuff. No, we have actually already got a Give Star as it is now. Now Tap Simple as it was then page for the Abergavenny groups, and we used that last year a bit and managed to raise a reasonable amount of money through that. So certainly that comes quite easily. We are fortunate in that both as a church locally and as a council of churches in Abergavenny, we got Facebook pages set up to be able to publicise that as well. Unfortunately, I run both of them, so but we have got those there, so that those certainly will help with the publicity, no question, and get things going. So yeah, it is that has helped a lot. That has helped a lot. And so when I do still put round the envelopes this year in Gove Island, there will be a note that I will be. So at least the village will know.
Well, thank you both so much. I'm looking forward. Phil, if you feel up to it again, I'm sure
yes.
we'd enjoy to have your company. And
I'll check the diary. Yeah, I'd love to be there.
And anyone else watching, if you're doing individual challenges, please do let us know at Christian Aid. And if you need any advice or help with things that you've heard, Just Giving, Tap Simple, Give Star, all these strange new names, I'm sure Helen or Larry in the office will be able to help you. But if there's nothing else, pray for us. And please. I look forward to the slopes.
Enjoy.
Looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you both so much.
I'll pass on to Eleri now. Diolch yn fawr.
Hello everyone. So this next bit is going to be a little getting to know me session with Dyfed.
Well, we are delighted to be able to welcome a new member of staff to the Wales team, Eleri. That means the team is nearly full, but Eleri is our latest recruit, and she's already fitting in really well into the team and getting to know the work and getting to know various people around Wales through her work. But we thought we'd spend maybe a couple of minutes just asking Eleri some questions about herself, just prying into her life a little bit so that you can get to know her before she takes over and shares a little bit about her work and various things about Christian Aid Week this year. Eleri, can you tell me to begin with how long you've been working with us for so far?
So it's been a little over 2 months, so I'm still quite fresh, still settling in, getting to know everything to do with Christian Aid. There's a lot to learn, but yeah, it's been nice so far.
2 months has flown by, I have to say, from our perspective as a team. I'm sure you're enjoying yourself as well. What do you enjoy? What have you enjoyed most about your job so far?
I never really went to a church that did Christian Aid Week. And since I started, well, from January especially, it's always been, you know, Christian Aid Week, that's the next big thing. We're going to do everything to do with Christian Aid Week. So I've had to have some kind of crash course, and Helen's been great with teaching me all the do's and don'ts of it all. But it's been really, really great to know all the things that can be done, all the things that are being adapted based on previous years. So that's what I've enjoyed the most. So, well, for now, I'm sure that'll change. Ask me in a couple of months.
So let's learn a little bit about Eleri herself then. Where were you born? Where were you brought up, Eleri?
I was born in Caerphilly, but I was brought up in Neath, and then I went to North Wales for university. So I've seen the south and the north.
You've travelled quite a bit around the country then in a fairly short time. I'm not going to ask you how old you are, but you're clearly the youngest member of our team. So tell us a little about your education. Which schools did you go to in the Neath area?
I went to a primary school in Neath. It wasn't Castell though, it was a little one in Britain Ferry called Tullarin. And then my comprehensive school was Ysgol Gyfun Ystafera. From there, I went to Bangor University, and now I'm in Cardiff. So yeah, I spent a lot of time just going all across Wales, really. Spent a lot of time in Aberystwyth as well over the years. So quite familiar with the geography, although don't quote me on that.
Well, it's good to have somebody working in the office in Cardiff who knows Wales quite well. That's really good. How does your faith, Eleri, help you in your job? What difference does your faith make to you in this role, do you think?
Well, the last role I had, it was in the financial sector, and there weren't many Christians there. And here, there's, everything is kind of steered through the faith, which makes it a little bit more enjoyable, also more challenging in some aspects as well. But I'm the type of person who I always want to do my best. I always want to, be the best that I can, and that derives from my faith. Trying to be more Christ-like, and although it'll never be enough, it'll never compare to what Christ did for us. I can still do my bit, and this organization is, well, the charity is incredible. I'm very passionate about the causes that are, being campaigned for with Christian Aid. So
that's excellent.
That'll come
That's
through.
excellent. So final question, you're about to embark on your very first Christian Aid Week. What excites you about this, Eleri?
It excites me to see what everyone's going to do. Like I said, I haven't really been involved in a church that has done Christian Aid Week before. So I'm very, very excited to see the different things, how it all affects our work, on the inside of the organisation, what we can do then to further what everybody else is doing, and how we can adapt it to be just easier for everyone, and just fight for our causes as everybody does.
Eleri, thank you so much. A very warm welcome to you, to the team once again. We are thrilled to have you. And now I'm handing back over to you to take us through the next section. Thank you.
Thank you, Dyfed. So this next little bit is going to be all things Christian Aid Week, with some small other things to start with. So this is the contact us slide. This has our details on it. I would encourage you to make a note of these details, just in case you need to contact us, which I hope you do, because like you've just established, I'm quite new, and I would love to get to know you all a bit more, learn a bit more about your churches, your groups, and just, be here for you to help you. So we're a team of 2 headed by Helen, and we're based in the Wales office, which is in Cardiff. Now, if we go to the next slide, Dyfed has touched on this, and he spoke very eloquently about it as well. So this is what we've recently started. It's the Loss and Damage campaign, and there's a petition for it on our website. We're basically asking for a fund to be created, which will be accessible to those who have been hit hardest by the climate crisis, and it would help them and assist them in, those losses that they have experienced, loss of homes, families, livelihoods, just to help them to recover from that, really. But yeah, Dyfed has said everything that I wanted to cover on that, and he said it so much better than myself, so I'll just leave that slide there for you. Now, these are the next things I'm going to talk about. So they're the new things for Christian Aid Week. There is going to be a lot of information thrown your way, but hopefully it'll be easier to follow and straightforward. But use the chat to ask any questions as we go along. So if we go to the next slide, please. Thank you. So Form A's, they're also known as the money return form. I don't know what your experiences are of them. I'm sure they can be quite daunting. They are, unfortunately, for some, a legal requirement for any money raised through house-to-house or delivery-only envelopes. We would really appreciate it if you did, use this form regardless of if you raised money through those methods, just because it tells us the amount you've raised, how you've raised it, and who helped to raise it, which is invaluable information for us going forward in the future. Now, there is an English form which is included in the Treasurer's Pack. The Treasurer's Pack automatically gets sent out when you order any Christian Aid resources. However, that form is in English, but we do have a bilingual one. So if you go to the next slide. So there is a bilingual form, which there'll be a link to that form online, and that'll come in the Treasurer's Pack as well. So within that pack, you'll get the paper form, which is in English, and a link to the bilingual one. Now, we would like you to try and use the online one. I know using new things online isn't always convenient, so if you can't, that's fine. But using the online one will be beneficial for us because of the accuracy. You know, we don't have to try and understand handwriting. It'll save us time and resources as well. And it gives you an excuse to contact us should you get stuck. That does need to be done and sent to us by the 18th of July. And the great thing about having it online is, you know, that if you remember on the 18th of July and you can't post it to us by that same day, you can just go online and do it that way. I also want to note in that Treasurer's Pack, you will get a prepaid envelope for the paper copy version. And in that, you can send us the checks, gift aid, charity vouchers, and they'll all go to one office this year. So one envelope for everything, which goes to our London office in that prepaid envelope. Now, the next thing I'm going to talk about is e-envelopes. It's a cashless form of giving. They are really great if you're new to this kind of format of using online envelopes and trying to get people to donate online. It's really easy to use. Gift aid is built in, and we're very excited about the Welsh banner, which is included in this. So if we go to the next slide, I can show you how to sign up. Okay, so you can sign up as an individual. So for your things that you're doing, like we just heard, you can set one up for then. This is only available for Christian Aid Week, though I do want to stress that. But if you decide to do it as a group or a church, you would need your organizational reference. If you don't have that, you can contact us and we'll give that to you. But you can also set up using the postcode, and then it takes you to the middle picture on that slide. It'll ask you to personalize your envelope. Now, it will pre-populate a URL. So there you can see my name has been pre-populated. That would be your church or your organizational name. You can change that if you want to. But if you're not that confident with technology, then you can just leave that there. It's automatically done for you. And there are 3 banners to choose from as well, 2 in English and 1 in Welsh. Now, this is what it'll look like when it's all been completed. So you can see the banner there, you can see the text, which you can adapt. You know, you could even put your daily activities for Christian Aid Week in there. So when people scan the QR code or access this page online, they can see what you're planning and know where to go and can attend. So we can also use it as an invite, really. You can see there that there's a target of £10. That's also adjustable. That was just for the purpose of this slide. You can share it on various online platforms, and that invaluable QR code can be saved to your computer. And if we go to the next slide, so that QR code can also be put on these slips, which can be posted with your delivery only or house to house envelopes. So if we click it one more time, you can see the QR code coming up there. I enjoyed making that effect. But there we are. So yeah, you can put that QR code on that slip. So when you're giving out your envelopes, then people can give online instead of you having to then handle the cash. And then you can see how it's been, added up on your e-envelope page as well, which is great to see as well. So if we go to the next slide. GiveStar is another version of an e-envelope. However, this is available all year round. It's a little bit more tech savvy. You've got a bit more control over what you're doing. You can have templates and you can have a cashless device, which works as a chip and pin device. Those are great for in-person events, as well as the QR code, because GiveStar is available all year round. You can print them off and have them dotted around your building as well, just to facilitate that year-round giving as well. But yeah, that is a little bit more tech savvy, although it's still quite straightforward. But give us a call if you want to set that up. Now, Christian Aid Week resources. This year, the orders can be, ordered through the printed order form, which comes in a church contact pack. Those should have those should have been received this week. So if by the end of the week they haven't arrived, please give us a call and we can arrange to get one sent out to you, or try and look into what's happened there. There are much more resources available online this year, including bilingual ones, which we'll see on the next few slides. But I also want to stress that we've got a new warehouse. They're called Mosaic, and the number to call is on the screen now. They're available for all year round for any Christian Aid resources that you'd like to order, not just Christian Aid Week ones. So if we go to the next slide. Now, these are some of the bilingual resources that we're quite excited about. So you can see the order of service there on the left-hand side. And then on the right, we've got the T-shirts for 300,000 steps in May. Now, they're bilingual. We're very excited about that. And just with that signing up, I want to stress that there's a little link on the page where you have to click if you're in Wales, and that'll take you to the Wales site sign up, and you'll automatically then get sent a bilingual T-shirt. However, if you don't want a T-shirt, you can freely opt out. That's no problem at all. If we go to the next slide again. Now, we've got a multi-purpose bilingual envelope this year. Hopefully this will make your lives easier. It'll definitely make our lives easier. So you can use this for house-to-house collections, delivery-only collections, or church collections. That's all on the same envelope. So you can order, a bulk of those, and if you've got some left over, then you can use them for one of the other purposes at one of your other events, which will be a good use for them, and hopefully it'll cause less waste as well, which would be great. And now we're back to come full circle again. So if you have any questions on the things that I've just spoken about, I know I've just flown through them, write them in the chat or write down those details and give us a call. I'd love to get to know you, and yeah, hopefully do a good job with whatever questions you throw my way. But now we're going to go over to Nathan, who's going to talk a little bit about the youth work that we've got going on.
Oh, thank you, Larry. It's great having you on the team, and I'm sure we're all looking forward to getting in touch with you when we need help. I'm going to talk now about children and youth. We're moving on. I hope you're still with us. It's a very exciting period in this regard. We've got a new role is being created, resources are available, and a new generation of supporters are right on our doorsteps. This year, next slide please, Helen. We've been involved in the Letters for Creation project. These are 3 words which I'm sure you've heard a lot of over the years. It's an evolving project. Next slide, please, Helen. Yeah, the project aims for churches to have intergenerational opportunities to explore and understand climate justice, what David was talking about, and use their prophetic voice to help build a just and sustainable future for all of creation. What started out as a means of children expressing their climate concerns in art is now expanding post COP26 to include churches and the wider community. And yeah, here's some Panama artworks. We hope that churches will host art exhibitions of their work and lobby their local politicians to act on the climate and loss and damage. Most importantly, we hope that the project is fun, inspiring and impactful. And just to explain these artworks that are showing, if you go back one, Helen, sorry. These are just some examples of children's. We initially had 10 artists from around the world to work with children to show what was possible. And these were, I'm sure you'll agree, they're stunning artwork from Panama, which have been used to create posters and little postcard packs, which can be ordered via Mosaic to inspire your own art workshop, your own letters for creation. And moving quickly on, I haven't got much time, so thank you. And another one, another click, there we are. What have we got on offer for you in regard to children and young people? Well, we've got the poster packs and the postcards, which can be ordered, they're physical. But if you've got printers, we've also got lesson plans in English and in Welsh, which can be used in schools, if you know any teachers, Sunday schools, or even in church. There's some excellent resources. There's 2 lesson plans, an art facilitation guide, impact toolkit. Do explore our online resources. And next slide, please, Helen. You know, please tweet or post any activity you're involved with in your churches or schools. And if you need any assistance, you can get hold of our of Valerie or Helen, and I'm sure they'll pass you on to, by then, our youth and education worker or myself. We can help. So those are the details on the screen now. If you fancy having these posters and postcard packs to put on your walls whilst you're doing these things, with these letters with the children, you can order them and quote the F number, F5000, and they can be delivered free of charge. So we'll now move on very rapidly, and we're going to hear another video. I do apologize if there's lagging, but it's Mrs. Kate Bates from Llandaff Christian Aid Group. And she's going to tell us a little bit about what the potential is to work with schools, what can be done. And I'm hoping she'll inspire you as you listen to her. So thank you, Helen. Could you start the video? Thank you.
Well, hello, Kate, and thank you so much for speaking with us today.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome.
Oh, it's lovely to see you again, and we're going to be talking a little bit about the schools, your work in the schools and Christian aid with schools. So, Kate, you're a former head teacher in Cardiff, and along with your very strong committee, you've been instrumental, really, working with schools, and you're also Llandaff Cathedral's church rep, the group organizer, and also you're retired, but I think it's safe to say, as everyone will soon see, you're far from retired. So I was just going to, sorry.
I was going to say it's important to have a rich life and to feel you're making a difference, no matter how small.
Oh, we're very grateful for everything you do. And I thought we could begin our discussion by, if Kate, you could tell us a little bit about the schools in Llandaff. Are they closely linked to the cathedral, and does that help?
Yes, and yes, actually, they are very closely linked to the cathedral. The 3 main schools that I work with, and a nursery too, they are all within walking distance of the cathedral, and all have links as church schools with the cathedral, and have done so for many, many years. So you are linking up with those 3 schools with over 2,500 pupils.
Wow.
So we have, immediate access to a lot of people.
Yeah.
And because of that, we have built over many years, in my former life as a head teacher and my obvious links then with the school and communities and cathedral, we have built up very strong relationships. And in doing that, with joint enthusiasm, building up ideas and having clear structures throughout, particularly Christian Aid Week, it's enabled us to do huge fundraising events. But not only that, Nathan, I think what it's done, it's made us all increasingly aware of our environment, of what we're about as Christians. What difference can we make? It's all very well to go to church and say your prayers, but it's so much more than that. And young people, we have found, latch onto this very quickly. And when schools are working together, it does make a difference. And that link is then followed through in Sunday school, which we'll come to talk about later, when they're attending the cathedral or their own different churches within the school community. The other thing I think I'd like to say about local schools and making a difference, it's that it's important that you see it not just as a one-off relationship for Christian Aid Week.
Yeah.
It's a long-term relationship that will get stronger if you persevere. It can start off very small, but eventually it will quickly become part of the school's calendar, that children look forward to it and start to talk about what they are going to do for Christian Aid Week.
So that's lovely. Just the number of pupils we're reaching there is phenomenal, isn't it? And so building those key relationships is obviously key. Do you,
Absolutely.
Looking outside of Llandaff now, do you think that schools are open to Christian Aid in 2022? And, what are your tips for that first approach, if you know what I mean?
I certainly do. I think what I'd suggest is, first of all, do your homework on individual schools. Talk to people, look online, look at what they're about. You might be in the Mothers Union and know people who have children at different schools, or grandchildren, or nieces, nephews, whatever. It's to know your area and know your school, because each area is different.
Yeah.
I'd also suggest that it sounds so obvious, and I hope people aren't offended by this, but it's important when first making relationships that you go about it slowly and approach it in a way that you are comfortable with. So it's important to make a proper appointment. Schools are very, very busy places, and you don't want to be knocked down at the first hurdle by, rocking up at the reception area and saying, would anyone be interested in fundraising for Christian Aid Week? Often you'd get, we have our own fundraising schemes, thank you, no thank you. You could be, I'm not saying you will be, but you could be brushed off very quickly. So It's important to not only do your homework, but to make a proper appointment, or write to the school if you feel better doing that. You need to get a hook. You need to get the school hooked on something. So it may not be just talking about fundraising, because especially in these very difficult, challenging times, schools, organizations have a lot of people asking them to raise money for them, and each cause is extremely needy. We all know that.
Yeah.
But I think what Christian Aid has, which is so important, is that it's linked to climate change, environmental issues, geography, the world around us. It's what young people of all ages, from 3 to 18 and onwards, are talking about. It's a message that is right out there. COP26, all of those things, it's very much in the news. so it can be linked in with their timetable. One of the things I'm very passionate about is that each year when Christian Aid to launch, what their theme, if you like, is going to be about.
For Christian Aid Week.
For Christian Aid Week. Where is that country? What is that about? Where is it on the map? Is it very far away? What are the problems there? And very, very quickly, you can link it in with climate change, environmental issues, and about love and friendship, and what can we do to help each other, not only in school, our families, but around the world. So that would be something that I would really strongly encourage. And also, I think I would say to schools, to organisations, that partnerships enrich school life.
Yeah, I was going to ask that actually, because we're always quite focused on Christian Aid Week, but outside of Christian Aid Week, I'm sure, do you find that the schools and the church in Llandaff, that relationship has benefits beyond the week, doesn't it?
Oh gosh, hugely, because you are engaging with so many different groups of people, whether it's mother and toddlers, the Mothers Union who make cakes for our lunches that we do. You are involving the whole community.
Yeah.
Obviously, I wouldn't want people listening to this and think, you can rock up and do this in 2022. As I said earlier, it takes many years to build this up, but it's so easy, and people want to do it. The other big hook with this is partnerships are hugely enriched, but schools within part of their curriculum, and certainly Wales is having has a new curriculum that's being launched. A very big part of that is our partnerships with the community, and global changes around the world, climate change, environmental issues. Ofsted in England and Estyn in Wales, the inspectorate, are very keen to see evidence of what schools are doing. And again, that is another hook, because you can, it's about helping each other. A partnership is give and take.
It's that global citizenship, isn't it?
It's the global citizenship, and it's about how we can help each other. So Christian Aid provides resources, doesn't it? It's something about helping. It's not just what can Christian Aid get from it, but as individuals and groups, how can we help them, and how can we make the world change? And I think COVID has really shown us how we need each other and how we miss each other.
Yeah. And
although it sounds a cliche, love does make the world go around in whatever form it takes, and we all have our part to play in that.
It's lovely listening to you, Kate, because you're very inspiring.
You're very too kind, Nick.
Zooming in on Llandaff, we've mentioned COVID. Obviously, we're entering now this sort of God willing, post-COVID period. I was thinking, could you give us some examples of the fundraising that you've done with the schools in the past, or something that comes to your mind, that the memories, as it were, we could
absolutely
repeat?
I mean, there are so many different things that can be done, from something very small, very simple, to things on a much, much bigger scale. So first of all, if I can start with individuals, it can start within the home. And schools often do this. It may be, phoning with parent support and with safeguarding in mind. Obviously, all of those parameters safely acknowledged and talked about. But it could be phoning grandma every night to see how she is. It could be with mum and dad helping to get some shopping from somebody who's not very well. It could be emptying the dishwasher for a week. and being sponsored for it, or cleaning the car, cleaning, you know, all with parental supervision and permission. But it can be as simple as that. You can then go from, you know, from that to having sponsored events within classrooms or within whole school. And it can be, you know, a toddler-thon we've done where they walk around the hall or walk around the park.
That sounds wonderful, doesn't it?
And of course, what you do, nobody can resist a toddler walking around. So, you know, grandparents, neighbours will sponsor them for this. Cycling, cyclothons, dance-a-thons. I was involved in one of the schools all the school went on the school field and we did a gigantic dance-a-thon.
Wow.
The school cooks, the caretakers, all the staff. We had a beautiful sunny day and we did different dance-a-thon, different dances, and we laughed so much, and you could pause if you wanted to. There were all ages, but you know, things like that. We do sponsored silences, cake stores, toy stores, ice cream sales, netball, football matches, cricket matches against each schools. We do dressing up competitions, all those sorts of things. As well as that, we do a big breakfast where a school hosts, and again, you need the school kitchen to be involved in this, but you parents are invited to have breakfast with their children before school. And so you know, and the staff, so you donate an amount of money to have a breakfast. We have a big brunch where schools host each other, and you know, you have things like hot chocolate or biscuits, and again, the school children may have made these or may have donated them, or the school cook may have done it.
So I hope everyone's probably scribbling these ideas down now, Kate. So
we do, we've done lunches where people pay a little bit more, whatever they can afford for their school dinner, and it can be 5 pence, it can be 20p. It doesn't have to be big amounts of money, but you know, if you're talking about thousands of pupils, those 5 pences would add up.
No, that's lovely, Kate. And you know, you've mentioned climate being one of those hooks. I introduced you when I met with your committee last time to this Letters for Creation project, which some of our supporters will know about, and the resources are online now, bilingually, lesson plans, you can order a poster pack. Is this, do you think this kind of thing might be a good conversation starter, you know, with some schools, this resource?
I certainly do. It shows what can be done, and it's giving them something on a plate, if you like. It's inspirational, and it makes them think about things. It's a starting block. I think that,
and you, sorry, and you know, I should mention your lovely husband Jed, because he does sterling work in the Sunday school, doesn't he?
He does.
I should note that this Letters for Creation project, it can be used in the classroom, but also in the Sunday school. Did you want to tell us a bit about the Sunday school quickly?
Of course. The Sunday school is obviously linked to the cathedral. We have over 200 children registered, as well as lots of young youth workers working on it with the children. And we do simple things like toy sales, book sales, and you know, we have those after the Sunday services. And again, who can resist little children, you know, asking for a donation? I mean, they come with bags of toys and go home with bags of toys, much to the youngster parents. But it's good fun. And I think what I'd say about all of this is that everything has to be linked up. You have to have the curriculum linked up with what is going on in Christian Aid Week and around the world. How does it feel to go hungry? How would you feel if you were wondering if you'd have anything to eat today. It's all about exploring those feelings and relationships. It's all about having fun. So quiz nights for adults, cheese and wine evenings, all those sorts of things we have done, dances, social afternoon teas. It doesn't have to be massive, but it all makes a difference and everybody's having fun.
Oh, well, I'm relatively new to Christian Aid, but I've enjoyed getting to know you and the group in Llandaff, and I just want to say a big thank you.
It's a pleasure. We love it. We love it.
And I hope that those listening can be inspired by your relationship with the schools. And I always see that this is something that we can learn from one another, can't we? And
always.
Oh, well,
we can all learn, and remember that every area, it needs to be bespoke, whether it's big or small. Every area is different. It needs to be bespoke, but every one of us, no matter how small, can make a difference. And I think that's the message I'd really like to leave you with.
Well, thank you. Diolch yn fawr, Kate, and we'll leave it there. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Good luck, everyone, for 2022. Good luck.
You.
Pass on to Mary now. Thank you.
Thank you, Nathan. And it's lovely to hear from Kate. So I think obviously all the contributions you've heard this evening, the stories, from Phil, from Peter, from Kate, and they're lovely snapshots, aren't they, of a kind of a big tapestry of activity that happens across Wales, not just in Christian Aid Week, but throughout the year. And we do hope that some of those stories will have been a source of inspiration and will kind of help spark some different ideas or conversations in your communities after our meeting today. So we're coming towards the end of our meeting, but we do have a short time available for some questions. If anybody has any questions, and maybe I can invite you to type any questions into the chat box. I can see that we haven't had any questions that have come in so far, but please, if you do have a question, please do take that opportunity. And then perhaps, do we still have Andrew with us? Do you know?
No, I don't think so. No.
I was going to bring Andrew in to tell us a little bit about what he's got planned for Christian Aid Week in Llandudno.
There's one question, Mary.
Diolch, Linos.
Yeah. Perhaps for Nathan can remind us, what age are the lesson plans aimed at? I think that's in the Letters for Creation pack. I think I'm right there. Am I, Judith?
Shall I
yes,
answer that?
thank you. Yeah.
Shall I answer that?
Yeah.
Yes, Nathan, please. Yeah.
The two lesson plans online, the bilingual ones, can be adapted. They are geared towards secondary school, but some of the activities can be adapted to primary school as well. And in the poster packs, you've got these postcards with some ideas for the children. They too can be for any age or can be used in Sunday school. Yeah, hope that answers your question.
Thanks, Nathan. And just a note to say that we've lifted the ban on the microphones being unmuted. So if you would like to come in and speak to the meeting, you're really welcome to do that. Jean, a question from Jean. Diolch, Lina.
Yeah. Is there a recommendation this year as to choosing house to house or delivery only envelopes?
I don't know. I'll take this one, Helen. Okay. There isn't a recommendation per se. It's whatever works for you, whatever works for the supporters that you're gearing them towards. The only, they're both the same envelope this year as well, so you can tailor it to your needs, and that you could always put that QR code on there as well should you set up an e-envelope, but it's mainly just whatever works for you and the community that you're in.
Yeah, thank you, Eleri. I think what really struck me as Eleri was sharing with us earlier in the meeting was that Christian Aid Week is really evolving, isn't it? We've had a time of great change over the past year or so, but even before that time, we were really thinking about how what the future of Christian Aid Week might look like, as the traditional house to house kind of the dropping the envelope off, picking it back, and then returning to knock the door. That has been in a kind of slow decline, and a lot of that might be changes within our society, expectations of how charities should collect, and people's comfort levels have changed. And so yeah, I think we've been trying to really change. We've got the e-envelope, so really bringing that famous red Christian Aid Week envelope into an online space, to have that kind of a different offering. So we're still able to share the Christian Aid Week envelope via social media to personalize it with your neighbours. So we have a WhatsApp group in my street, so an e-envelope would be an ideal thing to share with that group. But also, last year we really saw an increase in communities across the UK using the delivery only envelope, and that really surpassing the amount of money that was raised that way was really encouraging. And I think really because it still does have that element of personalization. We can put a note onto the envelope, add a QR code to keep that. Interaction is a really important part of Christian Aid Week, isn't it? It's not a it's a kind of personal way of fundraising. And yeah, so we would pray that will be an encouragement again to communities this year.
Can I just add on to the delivery only ones, Mary? We did that in Govan last year, having done door to door for many years before that. It worked very well. Helpful if you can have a central drop off point, of course. We've got the local village shop who is willing to take the dropped off envelopes, and that does make a difference if you've got a central drop off where people would go fairly normally.
Yeah, and I'm thinking to some of the smaller communities up, near where you are, Peter, sort of towards Abergavenny, I think it's in Grossmont and Skenfrith. Actually, the delivery only is something they've been doing for many years. There, even before delivery only envelopes became a thing for Christian Aid, having that local drop-off point in the community at the post office. Thanks, Peter. Are there any other questions or comments that anybody'd like to bring?
Nothing in the chats at the moment.
Just give a few extra seconds before we round up. Well, thank you, everybody. When I returned to work after maternity leave, was just before Christian Aid Week last year, to 2021. We were still very much in the middle of the pandemic, and in many ways, I was just amazed, sort of so inspired by all of the plans that were in place for Christian Aid Week. plans that were well underway. But in other ways, I shouldn't have been surprised at all. We're talking about Christian Aid supporters, Christian Aid volunteers, and I think that the call to God's people to respond to the voices of the poor, is just as strong as it has ever been, isn't it? That's the reality. And our current circumstances, don't really get in the way of that. They just change things a little bit for us. And so I want to say thank you to you for your refusal to let the challenging circumstances that we're in, for refusing to let those get in the way of the work and the plans that many of you will be putting in place. So as our time together comes to an end, please do get in touch with Eleri and Helen. Get in touch with the team for further information about anything that has been shared. Shortly after the meeting, you'll receive an email with a link to a survey. So we'd be really grateful to hear from you if you could fill this out. We're really keen to really try to understand how we might be connecting better with supporters in Wales, and as well as we think towards possibilities of gathering once again in person. I really wanted to continue to gather in a way that is useful and purposeful. And so as we seek to see more and more people involved in Christian Aid Week, in Christian Aid Week and throughout the year, I just want to close with some words from the Bible. And let's remember the call that we hear in Micah. Let us be people who act justly, who love mercy and walk humbly. Let us be people who act justly, love mercy and walk humbly. And so may the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ, the love of God and the fellowship of the Holy Spirit be with us in this work now and forevermore. And all God's people said, Amen.
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 Thank you, everyone. May God bless you. Good night.
Good night. Thank you.